I'm Shane, the customer support engineer with strongDM, and today's agenda, we're going to look at this Python script that will grant temporary access to a role that exists within strongDM, and it contains two resources, a Kubernetes cluster and an SSH server, and we're going to give that user access for a day. All right, so here on the right is the script, and here on the left is the strongDM UI. So we've got our roles. Here's the role we selected. It's called K8. And you'll see in this are those two servers that I mentioned. All right, so we see that there are no users on this role right now. And then we're going to give access to this user over here. He currently has a support team role and he has no temporary access. So that's just a little bit of the framework of what the system looks like now. And so then let's look at the script here. So you'll notice at the top, we have our API key, and that is how we have access to communicate with the strongDM API. So in the instructions that I've created here for this webinar, we have the script itself and a little README that'll walk you through which lines you need to modify in the script, has some links for how to create that key to get started. All right, and if we need, you need questions on that or help, I can do that at the end. But for now, we're assuming you've got your keys from the system. And then we just looked at the script here on line 11. Here's that role we looked at, K8, just put the name of the role that you want to assign. And then here on line 13, we just have the user that we're going to assign it to. And then lines 15 through 18, we're just getting the start of the grant and the end time. So how long they're going to give the permissions to those servers. Okay. And then I've highlighted a few lines here, which are calls to our SDK. So the role response, this is where we get the list of roles that currently exist in the system. There's more than just this one. So we look at the role name and we match on that. And then here from 26 to line 31, we're just kind of getting some of the date formatting that is expected by the system. So that's what that is. And then on 33, we look at the users. We need to find our user by his email address. So here we're listing the accounts, looking at the email address and matching it with our user. So we've got our role, we've got our user. Now we need to get the ID of the user, and then we're going to get the ID of the grants and the roles that exist in the system for those resources. And then this is the important line here on 44. We're kind of putting all the pieces together. We've defined our user, we've got the resource ID, we got the account ID, and then our user ID. And then here's our start and from. So when are we giving permission to start, and when's it going to end? So that's kind of all the pieces we need. We put that in my grant. And then on line 48, we have the account grant. So that's where we actually create the grant. We take the information we've put together and defined, and we execute it. All right, so then there's just a little bit of printing out of the results. So let's give it a shot. And here it is. We're going to run the script. All right, puts a little feedback out for us and says, there it is. There's our time frame and the user. So let's go over here to our tab where our user. Notice he doesn't have the role, didn't get the role K8s, but instead he got access to the resources within it. So you'll see here, tomorrow at 8 o'clock till Friday, 8 o'clock, he'll have access to those two resources and be able to connect to them at his leisure. And that really is the essence of the script. This just kind of shows you how you can automate it using the SDK. Obviously, these steps are available in the UI, but you could programmatically do this. You could set it up on a cron job to do a certain time. One could imagine changing this so that you have multiple roles or going through an array of roles, or even with the multiple users as well. So it can be expanded upon like that.